Mickey Mouse's vaudeville roots trace back to Walt Disney's childhood in Kansas City, Missouri, where entertainment became his escape. In the 5th grade, around 1911, Walt became close friends with a boy named Walt Pfeiffer at Benton Grammar School. Walt loved spending time at the Pfeiffer House, calling it his laughing place, which was a stark contrast from his own home, where his father, Elias Disney, was often heavy-handed, stern, and disapproving. Elias saw frivolity as a waste of time, but the Pfeiffer home was full of warmth and happiness, offering Walt a refuge. It was through Walt Pfeiffer that Walt discovered vaudeville shows and moving pictures, sparking a lifelong passion. Despite Elias's disapproval, the two Walts began sneaking out to watch shows at the local vaudeville house, keeping their outings a secret from Walt's father. Back at the Pfeiffer home, they performed the jokes and skits they'd seen for the Pfeiffer family, and Walt even took his acts to Benton Grammar School, where he'd entertain his classmates. On Lincoln's birthday, for example, Walt converted his father's derby hat into a stovepipe using cardboard, then, dressed as Abraham Lincoln, recited the Gettysburg Address for his class. The principal was so impressed that he had Walt perform in every classroom, which was a tradition that Walt continued until he graduated. Walt and Walt Pfeiffer also entered amateur night at the local theater with an act called Charlie Chaplin and the Count, with Walt playing Charlie Chaplin, who was his idol. They won 4th prize, which was only 25 cents, but their experience fueled their creativity. They would rehearse new acts while Walt delivered papers on his route, and they'd come up with names for their act, like the Two Walts, or the Two Bad Walts, or the Boys from Benton School, and they also had a Dutch act they called Hans and Mike. To perform, Walt would sneak out of his window at night, knowing Elias wouldn't approve. One night, Elias took Walt's mother, Flora, and sister Ruth on a rare visit to the neighborhood vaudeville theater. A performer on stage announced that he was going to stack 3 chairs over his head and balance a boy on the top. To their shock, that boy was Walt. Later, when the family moved to Chicago, Walt became the cartoonist for his high school newspaper and visited vaudeville houses to get gags for his comics. Once, he tried telling some jokes to his father, Elias, who listened stone-faced. 2 days later, Elias, still straight-faced, told Walt, "You know, I've been thinking about that joke you told me, Walter. It's funny. Very funny." It was a rare acknowledgement from Elias, who never really understood Walt's fascination with entertainment. By early 1929, Walt Disney's studio was riding a wave of success after Steamboat Willie's groundbreaking debut in November of 1928. Walt's childhood love for vaudeville found its way into his work, shaping Mickey's early adventures, even giving us the source for those iconic gloves. The Opry House, released on March 28, 1929, was in production in the fall of 1928 while Walt was still in New York chasing distribution deals for Steamboat Willie. The idea for the Opry House originated with Ub Iwerks, Walt's lead animator, who shared Walt's love for vaudeville. Ub, like many in the 1920s, grew up watching vaudeville variety shows, and that influence is clear in the short's theatrical setting. Halfway through the Opry House, Mickey puts on gloves to play the piano, and from then on, those gloves became a permanent part of his wardrobe. It's easy to see why the gloves became such a regular thing for him. As a character whose body was all black, it was difficult to show things like fingers clearly. As you can see in these examples from Steamboat Willie and the Barn Dance, the gloves give more definition to his fingers and make it easier to show what he's doing. The Opry House marked a milestone as one of the first shorts that showcased Mickey as a performer. And was becoming so popular, Mickey that is, that in 1930, Mickey, playing the piano, was immortalized in wax and displayed at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. Mickey's Follies marked another milestone as the first short where Mickey sings. His first spoken lines had come just a month earlier in The Carnival Kid.
Hot dog, hot dog. Hot dog, hot dog.
The singing in Mickey's Follies was done by an unknown stagehand, not Walt this time. The song, Minnie's Yoo-Hoo, that was composed by Carl Stalling, became Mickey's theme for years.
I'm the guy they call Little Mickey Mouse. Got a sweetie down in the chicken house.
It was used as an anthem for the Mickey Mouse Club that started cropping up in the 1930s around the country. Its popularity led to it being created as a short called Minnie's Yoo-Hoo that was created specifically for those clubs that would lead members of the club in singing Mickey's anthem.
Now everybody sing. Ready?
And Mickey's performance in Minnie's Yoo-Hoo was taken directly from Mickey's Follies.
I'm the guy they call Little Mickey Mouse.
These shorts weren't just technical feats, they captured the vaudeville spirit that Walt and his team knew so well, and that turned Mickey into a stage star, setting the tone for many of his future performances. Mickey's Follies was released on August 28, 1929, and it takes us to a barnyard vaudeville show with Mickey as a star, a direct reflection of the variety acts that Walt Disney and his animators enjoyed in the 1920s. Vaudeville was a cultural juggernaut back then, filling theaters with singers, dancers, comedians, and even animal acts, often paired with feature films for a full night of entertainment. Audiences loved the mix, and theaters where Walt watched those shows as a kid were packed nightly. In Mickey's Follies, the barnyard animals perform a dramatic chicken and rooster dance where they comically kick each other and then the hen lays an egg in a bizarre twist. This gag was originally cut from the barn dance, but was perfectly at home here. Patricia Pigg belts out an operatic O Sole Mio, her voice hilariously off-key. Before Mickey steals the show with Minnie's Yoo-Hoo. He sings, plays the piano, and dances, and embodies vaudeville's lively spirit. A spirit that Walt knew well from sneaking out to perform with Walt Pfeiffer. These shorts weren't just entertainment, they were a love letter to vaudeville, proving why animated shorts became a theater staple alongside live acts in the 1920s, a tradition that would continue in Mickey's later performances. Other early shorts captured this vaudeville magic too. The Jazz Fool, later released in 1929, features Mickey as a piano-playing performer, with his horse from the barn dance making an appearance. His horse was gradually evolving into the character who'd become known as Horace Horsecollar. At the end of The Jazz Fool, Mickey has a battle with the piano on stage, which is a gag that was repeated from the Opry House, which showed that they weren't afraid to repeat things if they worked. The Barnyard Concert, another short released in 1930, shows Mickey conducting a farmyard orchestra, continuing the stage show tradition. In Mickey's Revue in 1932, Mickey hosts another stage show. This short introduces a guffawing character then known as Dippy Dog, who'd later become Goofy. The Orphan's Benefit in 1934 features Mickey organizing a benefit performance for orphans. This marked the first Mickey Mouse cartoon to include Donald Duck, who'd premiered earlier that year in the silly symphony called The Wise Little Hen. That same short was remade in 1949, but that's a topic for a future video. Mickey's Grand Opera in 1936 blends music and comedy in a theater setting, while Magician Mickey in 1937 shows Mickey as a stage magician, continuing a very common vaudeville tradition. Walt's childhood friend, Walt Pfeiffer, even joined him in California years later, directing Mickey's Amateurs in 1937, where Mickey hosts a talent show, yet another stage performance inspired by those early vaudeville days. Mickey's Follies and the other vaudeville-inspired shorts thrilled audiences when they hit theaters in the 1920s and 30s. Trade publications of the time couldn't get enough of Mickey's stage antics. The Film Daily in March 1929 called the Opry House a vaudeville gem, praising its clever sound gags. Motion Picture News in August 1929 dubbed Mickey's Follies a barnyard triumph, highlighting the revue's humor and Minnie's Yoo-Hoo as a tune that audiences hum on the way out. Theatergoers loved these shorts. Kids and adults laughed at Mickey's performances, often watching them alongside live vaudeville acts in feature films in packed venues. Mickey's Follies and the other vaudeville-inspired shorts are an example of how these early classics drew on what Walt and those who worked with him loved, and these things would inspire Disney animation for years to come. So, what's your favorite from these early vaudeville-inspired shorts? Let me know in the comments below, and I'd love to hear from you. I hope you've enjoyed uncovering Mickey Mouse's vaudeville roots. If you did, and you'd like to explore more classic Disney history, please hit the like button and subscribe. I'll be diving into more Mickey Mouse history next week, so don't miss out. And since Mickey's Follies and the Opry House are in the public domain, why not click here to watch Mickey's Follies and here to watch the Opry House and experience all of this vaudeville magic for yourself? And I'll see you next time.